Thank you so very much for being back. And this is Enterprise Friday, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get talking on our main conversation for today, where we have it that Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court has sentenced, finally, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, to life imprisonment after a decade-long trial. The judgment delivered on Thursday followed his controversial arrest in Kenya 4 years ago and subsequent rendition to Nigeria, where he faced 7 terrorism-related charges.
Very true. The court proceeding in Kanu's absence after he insisted the ruling would not be delivered, a stance that led to his removal from the courtroom for allegedly unruly behavior. In the verdict, Justice Omotosho held that Kanu's various broadcasts on Radio Biafra amounted to acts of terrorism, noting that his messages were anchored on violence and posed a threat to national security. And
also the judge added that the sit-at-home order issued by Kanu in the southeast of Nigeria constituted an infringement on citizens' freedom of movement and demonstrated a lack of constitutional authority to issue such directives. From evidence tendered, the court found that Kanu used his broadcast to incite attacks on the police and military personnel, actions the court said amounted to preparatory act of terrorism.
So Justice Omotosho further stated that Kanu showed no remorse throughout the trial, describing him as arrogant and full of himself. Despite the gravity of his actions and their impact on the Southeast, having found him guilty on all 7 counts, the judge opted for a life sentence rather than the death penalty, acknowledging that capital punishment is increasingly discouraged internationally. If therefore ordered that Kanu be imprisoned for life on counts 1, 4, 5, and 6 in the interest of justice.
Well, let's get talking. We still have with us Barrister Evans Ofeli, who joins us from Toronto in Canada, and Achike Chude, who joins us from Lagos State in Nigeria. So let's get talking, gentlemen. I'd love to start with you, Barrister Evans Ofeli. This is your catchment area. Help us fleshing out what actually happened. This is actually not coming a bit outside of the curve. Legal luminaries like you and more have described and expected this. Remember, Kanu cited the case had no prima facie. But of course, we all know that his lack of defense will lead to what we have seen. Speak to us.
Yeah, very well. This case was going very well when Kanu Agabi was the defense counsel. I was going well when the prosecution opened a case, made us allegation. Made allegation against you can against or and was able to disprove and made their case not credible. Okay. Then when they finished his case, the defendant filed a no case submission. A no case submission that you are that the prima facie case has not been established against you, that you have no case to answer. The court grounds the fact that there's no case to answer. The court now dismissed the no case submission and said that a prima facie case has been established against Nnamdi Kanu must enter his defense. Okay, all of a sudden, we're expecting that to happen, where all of a sudden they said all the lawyers have been asked to withdraw from the case, and then Nnamdi Kanu is going to defend himself. That was okay. It's allowed by law to defend yourself because you can, even though the law is that you have to stop by the way because you can't really pull it through. Now, what the issues, he said that the charge against him was wrong. There's no charge against him, all the rest of that. So there was no defense. The court gave him ample opportunity to be able to file his defense. At the end of the day, nothing was filed. Even the written address was not. The court foreclosed him, which is the principle of law. And in such kind of case where huge allegations like that have been raised, okay, facts that are not disproved or contested are deemed admitted under the law. That's the law, okay. And the justice did not disprove those facts, that there's nothing coming from him to debunk those allegations. It clearly was a 1-0 for him. I mean, at that point. So the court went ahead and convicted him yesterday. The penalty for that offense, so terrorism, is actually a death penalty. Well, because of the fact that the international community frowned against was mitigated to life in prison. Okay? Well, you see, as much as because when Kanu Agabi did this, when Kanu Agabi was cross-examining the prosecution witness, you notice that all they're saying, they don't have any direct evidence against Nnamdi Kanu. They were just saying this in terms of unequivocal evidence. And so actually, until came in, okay, and I'll see where the thing has led to. Because in appeal, you cannot witness, you not going to go on trial. It's a jury court level. The court's going to look for what is done at the court of instance, so the same what comes, and that make pronouncement. So I had thought that a defense would have been filed in this matter to make it stiffer for the court to take such decision. Okay, but it has gone this way. However, I do not absolutely agree with that. I mean, I'm not you could have just proved that act of terrorism just like that. When you balance it, what is happening in society, those who are carrying rifles, killing people, raping people, bringing them people, you haven't second one. No, you don't say that they catch 3 thieves. You say because they catch the other one, they should not convict the one they catch. No. We shouldn't play double standard. The sponsor of Boko Haram insurgency, there is a list in this country, there is on the website of the Sanction Mountain Commission. And it's there. None of them have been prosecuted. I went to court advice to court, asking for them to compel the Attorney General of the Federation and National Security Advisor of the federal government to prosecute those people. Nothing was done till now. They have not filed their defense till now. Okay, in that matter. Then someone whom you claim made a broadcast. I do not support Nnamdi Kanu because through which you can as much as support, it only support a situation where the issue if the government is prosecuting they should prosecute around spends to abandon as source of Boko Haram. Both they would have them by the death penalty.
All right,
no.
Can you hear me, Barrister? We're actually finding it difficult.
I can hear you.
Yeah, your line is breaking.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes, in 2017, from all the organizations that are terrorizing the country, they singled out IPOB and proscribed it. Okay?
Yeah.
IPOB will speak. IPOB is the only organization in Nigeria that is proscribed. Okay? And all that. So, the white government wanted to Kanu jets. The U.S. not release those jets. The U.S. told them to go back and name those people that are bandit terrorists before they can take jets away. You understand? Meanwhile, in 2015, IPOB have been proscribed as a terrorist organization.
Yeah.
So what kind of under that way?
All right. So let's a bit go to Achike at this point. Achike, let's take a look at this issue case by case. I know at the first phase of our conversation, you said this was more of a political prosecution. I love us that you make your point on what you think that is, but let's take a look at what Nnamdi Kanu had what he had done and what the effect is with the southeast of Nigeria. Is it fair to say, to a large extent, some of those crimes he allegedly committed has led to what we see today in the southeast of Nigeria when it comes to insecurity?
No, it's again, I'm not holding brief for Nnamdi Kanu. I disagree with a lot of the things, his postulations, and then the way he carries these things out. I disagree most vehemently with him. But we must also go back to history, and the history is not too far, to when IPOB was described as a peaceful organization, even by members of the international community. So how did that international organization, that peaceful organization become radical and become violent? What happened? A lot of people do not know that there are so many extrajudicial killings of people from the southeast while the crisis was raging. It got to that level where perhaps, I don't know, whether people now decided they needed to defend themselves and all that. And Kanu obviously is unquote. His language is very vitriolic and very, very virulent, and it's not something that would endear people to him easily. Of course, if you look at the bottom line, the root cause of the agitation, you see that there are some truths there. There were some truths in the Niger Delta agitation at the time, the degradation of the Niger Delta and the mass suffering that the people were going through, and yet that region continued to be the mainstay of the nation's economy. There was some truth there. There's also some truth in virtually every part of this country, that injustice, the state is perpetrating injustice against its people, against its citizens. And as a result of that, the tendency for one or two people to just, emerge from the shadows and claim to be champions of the people because they are speaking the language of the people is always there. So the state, Nigerian state, either directly or indirectly, enabled what is happening in the southeast today. There are no two ways about that. You can quarrel with Nnamdi Kanu, quarrel with his methods, and quarrel with the way he's going about some of these things. But the reality is that some of the crises even you're talking about in the southeast, there's a very strong possibility that he doesn't have a hand in a lot of them. And that his own IPOB, his own faction of IPOB, is not the one killing the people of the southeast. He's made that point in the past several times. And in fairness to him, he had also said at the time that it would just take him 20 minutes to bring about peace in the southeast. But I don't think so. That southeast that he was in at the time is no longer the same southeast. All manners of criminal elements have emerged. So you can say, yes, that the crisis we are facing in the southeast is as a result of the agitation by Nnamdi Kanu, because these agitations also lead to all manners of other, or fallout of, you have other rogue elements, even from within that organization, also coming out to do, all manners of things in the name of agitation. You look at the Irish Republican Army at the time, out of the shadows of the Irish Republican Army emerged the real Republic, the real Republican Army. So these things happen. The longer a struggle, a violent struggle it goes on, the tendency that you have splinter groups who will now, detach themselves from the main, group with their fixated ideology, and then begin all manners of other things that might not be in line. That might not be in line, sorry, that might be in line with history, movement. And I think that somewhere along the line, that's what is happening. When Asari Dokubo talked about Buhari giving him money, giving them resources to bring about peace in the southeast and in the southwest, was there no national army? Did we not have a national security infrastructure? So that would tell you that perhaps what Asari Dokubo was doing in the southeast was not about bringing peace in that region, but that certain people were doing certain things and then giving the tag of an inglorious tag or infamy to IPOB. But that is not to say that elements of IPOB are not involved in the violence in the southeast. I cannot say that because I don't know for sure.
Okay, so could Kanu appeal this life sentence, and what are the legal pathways? Over to you, Barrister Evans.
No, it will be appealed. It will be appealed. There's no doubt about it. I'm not going to allow that. And but the reality is that the die was cast immediately. I saw a live broadcast of that program on multiple television channels. I just smiled and I said, look, the judgment at the end of this trial is not one that a lot of people will be happy about, and so they needed to prepare Nigerians, and that's why they did it.
Okay.
Yeah. So Barrister, speak to us on the appeal. What do you think is the legal interpretation of it? Do we see a light at the end of the tunnel? But President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, while speaking to judges, said that justice must not be bought or must not be sold. Yeah. So do you think that we see a light at the end of the tunnel with the appeal?
Well, you see options of appeal. Options of appeal, the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, those are options of appeal left. But in the nature of appeal, it's canvassed in the Court of First Instance. It's what the court will look at. Vis-a-vis, that's what the appeal court will look at, vis-a-vis the grounds of appeal of the appellant. Okay? In the case where you did not enter defense at all, okay? A lot of pressure will be on the counsel, the appellate counsel, because they will have to do more. They have to work because the foundation of the case is standing without a defense. Okay, so the ground of appeal will determine issues and all that. But we should know that on appeal, you don't call witnesses. Okay. You don't call witnesses. You're only going to rely on what have been done before. And it's a jury court where they're going to have, the justices look at the matter and write their independent judgment in the case. Okay? So that is what it is. I agree that this case has long become a political one because the moment the Court of Appeal asked that Nnamdi Kanu be released, and the federal government went on appeal, and then the matter started de novo. From 2015, this matter has been on, the army went to his house, destroyed things and all that. So the whole thing had dragged unnecessarily, okay? But these options of appeal are going to be very important. We should remember that Nnamdi Kanu, as we speak, once he filed a stay of execution, and there is filed, be treated as a non-citizen. It should be like any other citizen. The way we behave in Nigeria. That the announcement might start to misbehave. You have all the rights to anything that for him, because you see, who knows, the court of autonomy that have been reached far. So this is what we should have it. These options of appeal must be exhausted before you can truly say that it is when you no longer have option of appeal that I can say you have come to the end of the case. Right now, we're back to the end of the case.
All right, that's awesome. Is Achike still here with us? All right, so we learned Achike has just left us right now. But Barrister, let's talk some more on some of the things going on, especially with this case. I'd love us to, if possible, compare what we see today with that of Henry Oka, the leader of the movement for the emancipation of the Niger Delta, who is currently serving years of jail time in South Africa. Is there any sort of maybe sameness? And what's your take, actually?
Well, the similarity that both of them are free writers. The fact of the case are quite similar because it has to do with agitation. Even though one is a secessionist agitation, while the other is for economic integration of people, Niger Delta. They are not in approach in terms of if you look at them, okay, not one difference there, but the facts are different because you can have two cases that to have the same facts. Okay, so the other one had this conviction by themselves. There are options open to the party, the appellant. Virtually almost the same. The struggle with one situation. So that's there.
All right.
Okay. So what's or how might Kanu's sentences, affect the security situation in the southeast? How might?
Do you think there will be rampage and all?
Or protest?
Yeah, the stand part of the good adapting sorts of messages, and then after we found on that the leaders that John will friendly and the rest of that. Right now, tempers are high, and I believe that peace will be maintained because you go out and start to whatever it is to carry out their own, it leads to the destruction or the killing of the region. So this is not a time to do that. People are really, really in sober as a result of the judgment. I'm happy about it, the way it went and the rest of that, because I comment the defense counsel and the responsibility and the rest of that. So, who is in sober right now? And that. So, our president that in due time, there could be a different case in future, but we think we understand that. You see, the law practice kind of a job. Nobody build law, but you have to go through it. And those who have the qualification, the training to be allowed to handle it. No matter whether the case is frivolous, whether the case is not the case, and all that. Those who are knowledgeable, who have the training to be the one, and that is what I think. So they will not got things. So when things are going bad, you know where they are coming from. You know that they're coming from external angle. Not that things are going bad and then it's coming from the internal angle to the whole thing. So that's my take on it.
All right, thank you so very much, Barrister. And equally, a big thank you to Achike Chude. That's just about the time
My
we
pleasure.
have. Yes, that's just about the time we have. This is a developing story.